Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where I cover nostalgic, obscure, otherwise strange content. Just a heads up real quick, it is storming like nothing else today. So if at any point in the video it sounds like Noah himself is doing whatever Noah did, that's why. Don't be alarmed. It's fine. It's just a rainy day here in the city in the forests. Last week I got a request from a member of our community, Adam. Shout out to Adam. And Adam suggested that I cover, wait, what is it called? I actually have to keep checking. Magical Legend of the Leprechauns. This is a movie that I've never seen before. Well, actually, it's two movies. And so heads up, this is going to be like a little two-part project again. Because it's two made for Hallmark, specifically, movies. And I know a lot of people are really nostalgic about these. They came out in 1999, and I watched the first one last night, and oh my god, I was so happy watching it. It is quite a ride of a movie, so let's get into it. We're going to cover the first, checks notes, Magical Legend of the Leprechauns. That is, there's a lot of words, and I can never remember what order the words come in. But we're going to watch the first one today, and then the next video after this will be the second one. Because honestly, it's two separate movies, and I have something to say about pretty much everything that happens in this first one, so two-parter. It's a good little St. Patrick's Day themed content project. Of course, I am filming this first video the day after St. Patrick's Day, so I'm either late or really early for next year, so you decide. So we start off with this guy, Jack. He is from New York City, and he is now riding the train into a small town in Ireland.
This will be my first chance to get out of New York in almost 2 years.
It's not a vacation, Jack, okay?
Where's the second voice coming from?
You're there to do a job for us.
I know that.
So, as he remembers this conversation he had with, I guess, his boss, we get exposition for why he's there. He's scouting out land for his development company.
So was it a good trip, Mr. Woods?
Yeah, it was fine.
This very nice man picks him up in his horse-drawn carriage, which Jack is kind of complaining about.
Don't you have a car?
And then they roll up on this little cottage that, like, maybe it's just me, but I would love to live in this cottage. Like, it's surrounded by beautiful land, it's cozy, and, like, they're both acting like this house is, like, awful, like it's a bad house, and I'm just like, no.
We have oil lamps in all the rooms.
Oh. What, there's no electricity?
This is my new dream house. I want to live in this house.
We have salmon the size of dolphins and trout that'll jump right into your pan with a pat of butter already melting in their mouths.
I love this guy already. So after a little bit of convincing, Jack takes the house, and he's like, why am I getting this house so cheap? And then we see the curtains magically move themselves.
Irish poachine, the finest.
What is it, like whiskey?
A wee touch stronger, maybe.
Yeah, that Irish liquor will mess you up, man.
What was that?
Just mice.
So he goes and he puts his new liquor back in the house, and then it starts moving across the shelf with some very strange sound effects. I don't like the sound effects. And then Jack goes walking in the woods. And then he happens across a lady swimming naked in the river. She's naked. And he's, like, totally checking her out, and then she catches him, and she's like, what the fuck, dude? And he's like, oh, no, it's not. My shoe is stuck in the ground.
Peeping Tom!
No.
I'll know you when I see you again.
No.
And he hobbles away in shame, as he should. And then that night, he's drinking alone. What did I say about the Irish whiskey? This is quite possibly the best reaction I have ever seen to somebody getting fucked up. Random category, but it's still true. Man's acting like he's on acid. And then he starts playing a game of tug-of-war with the alcohol with an invisible force. He falls backwards and very gently gets knocked out. And when he wakes up, there's a little tiny person in his house. The man falls in the river, and Jack saves his life.
Hang on! Phew.
Very dramatically.
Ah! Oh!
And then he gets freaked out, which is kind of rude.
Okay, I'm coming in. Here I come. I'm coming in now.
He follows him back into the house.
I can see you dripping.
File that line away under, what do you think, reading that on the script and then having to, like, portray that in a serious way. What do you think that was like? File it under that file.
You're
A leprechaun.
So his new friend and his wife appear.
You were drunk. Of course I was drunk.
Mood.
I hate water.
I want that to be a soundbite.
Just calm down, Jack.
So Jack's having a nervous breakdown in the front lawn. But they come out and they're like, hey, look, we're leprechauns. It's not a big deal. Also, we're kind of in your debt forever now. So there's that.
An immortal saves a leprechaun, then that leprechaun is in his debt forever and a day.
I'll get you a towel. You can get pneumonia.
Ah, harsh. Right. So there's this family of leprechauns that live in his home that apparently the realtor who sold him the home or let him the home knew about and then, like, rented the home out anyway. That's very disrespectful to the leprechauns, if you ask me.
Hello there. Oh, there's another one.
But they're a family. There's a mom and a dad and a young adult man. And they're very nice.
Can you lend us a couple of gold ones? Promise me. You'll only spend it on drink and women.
I promise.
Man, parents are so strict these days. So now we're gonna spend some time following the son leprechaun and his 3 friends, which really sets up a thing with this movie because, like, right as you're thinking Jack is gonna be, like, the most important character, and right as you're thinking, hey, I don't really like Jack at all, it pivots around and you realize that, like, he's kind of secondary, right? Like, he's not... The main part of the story is the leprechauns and the presumable fairies that we haven't met yet.
How are things in Munster, Dunlang?
Too peaceful.
Who is this? It's the Headless Horseman! But he's, like, somehow even more of a goth kid than before.
I can see from up here there's a few other Doolahans already arrived.
He throws his head up in the air so that he can see further. This man is an icon.
Bye, Doolah.
Bye! I love you! And then before we have any time to recover from that, we meet the fairies.
It's Count Grogan.
We've met like 3 kinds of mythical figures in the past like 10 minutes. This movie is super fast-paced.
A powerful man with a powerful set of eyebrows.
Are eyebrows like a... Is it like a leprechaun thing? Is that what they're trying to say? Is he trying to be, like, offensive? Because the leprechauns and the fairies hate each other. And they're both, like, super bigoted towards each other. So, like, it's a lot. You'll see. It's a lot. So they have a big fight. But it's kind of like a jolly fight. There's, like, happy music. Sorry, Loki. There's happy music in the background. And they're just like, yep, we're kicking the shit out of each other. Also, of course, the leprechauns are all super redhead. Of course they are. Meanwhile, Jack is still being Jack, which is intensely unlikable.
Look, a normal-sized person.
That's rude. Come on now.
It's really good of you to stay in the cottage, Jack.
The dad leprechaun rolls up and starts talking about how he hates nature.
Would you look at all this nature? Far too much of it, isn't there?
And as he's going on a tangent about how he hates the fairies, we see, like, the fairies in their, like, home base, I guess.
That leprechaun riffraff pelted you with turnips.
Something about the way the fairies are dressed just kind of reminds me of all the people in the Capitol in the Hunger Games movies.
She's here, the Grand Banshee.
And then the Grand Banshee shows up, and it's Whoopi Goldberg.
I decree that all fighting between trooping and solitary fairies end.
And she's like, what the fuck? You guys are fighting now? Like, you guys are brawling? And they're like, it wasn't our fault. And she's like, yeah, whatever, man. And they're like, they threw turnips at us. And she's like, do I look like I give a shit right now?
If this war does not stop, you will all pay the ultimate price.
She's like, look, if you don't stop killing each other, I'll kill you myself, you know? Back in Ireland, well, it's all Ireland, but like back in regular Ireland, Jack is taking some pictures because he's trying to like figure out how he's going to develop this land. It's giving me very Christmas gift vibes, but Jack is not nearly as likable as the main character played by John Denver in that movie was.
That's a very interesting camera you have there.
So he's taking pictures and they stumble across who else's home but the lady that he was spying on in the river the other day.
Oh, that'll be Kathleen, bathing like a goddess. Sometimes it's a real advantage of being invisible.
Fuck? Why do you have to be creepy? Papa Leprechaun, I like you. Why do you have to make it weird? So what does Jack decide to do after he's already gotten off on the wrong foot with this girl by being a peeping Tom? He sneaks up into her backyard and starts taking pictures of her without her permission.
It's the peeping Tom!
No, look.
And then her brothers, which are just so down to fight all the time, just start chasing him through the woods. It's hilarious. He runs into the nearby church to, like, take sanctuary, like they're not gonna beat his ass up in church.
You can always get the last word if you talk to yourself.
And the priest is giving a very Irish mass.
Kathleen Fitzpatrick, sit!
So the priest is like, everybody sit down and shut up. I am doing mass. We're doing a thing in here. And then like a million hours later, they finally get to leave.
That was a very inspiring sermon, Father.
And then Jack pretends to be interested in being friends with the priest, all just to not get his shit rocked by the brothers of the lady who he was spying on. Are you seeing why Jack is kind of sus?
Is she gonna be here?
Oh, no doubt, Jack.
So the next day he shows up at a fair to track down the same girl as if she's not already considering a restraining order. And the priest is losing at one of those like rigged carnival games, so they show up to help him. The leprechauns go invisible and just kind of like place the ring where it's supposed to be so he wins.
Father, that's him. That's the man.
And meanwhile, this poor girl is like, hey, minister, this is the guy who's literally been stalking and creeping on me this whole time.
You were following me.
Not now, woman. He's about to throw.
And Father doesn't give a fuck.
And you're making a serious accusation against him. Are you a peeping Tom, as she says? No. Fair enough.
A priest covering up inappropriate behavior. I never saw that coming.
You've got the wrong map. I'm an impeccable judge of character.
Yeah, so he sides with Jack. He's like, screw you, lady. It's fine. This guy helped me win at this carnival game. He didn't even do that. The leprechauns did. Let's check in with the younger leprechauns. How are they doing? They seem good. They sneak into this house with the intent to make mischief, as one does, and then they hatch a plan to sneak into the Faeries' big snooty ball that they have going on that night.
Turn the milk sour. Flatten the wheat fields.
And then they're talking about how leprechauns are menaces to society. And then a bunch more leprechauns show up and they're just like, house party in this house that isn't ours. It does seem like a pretty cool house party. It's popping off, as the kids say.
Oh, that's quite a party they're putting on for us up there.
So after they have this party, they're like, how are we gonna sneak into this other, fancier party?
4 against 1. Oh, calamity.
Well, the answer that they come up with is that they're going to mug a group of fairies and steal their clothes and masks for the masquerade ball, as one does. And then they ride on this weird burping frog bubble elevator up to Fairyland.
Take off that stupid leprechaun mask, Grogan.
But they're supposed to be stupid. That's the whole idea.
So the masks are like supposed to be like a caricature of the leprechauns, and the leprechauns are using that as a disguise to go in and just like mess up all kinds of shit for the fairies that are making fun of them. That's kind of badass, actually. I mean, I feel very bad for the leprechauns that they're being exposed to this, but I'm glad that they're getting kind of the last laugh in. And then, of course, the main leprechaun, the son of the one that's the one that lives in Jack's house, that leprechaun, he walks in, looks right at the princess fairy, and is like, oh my god, she's an angel. Meanwhile, Jack's drinking with his parents back at home.
I'm not just here for a rest. I'm here for my job as well.
They're talking about his job. It's very boring in the middle of, like, this leprechaun fairy banshee world that we're in.
They'll want to catch us for our pots of gold.
They're also talking about how he needs to keep them a secret because people will want their gold, which they don't have. It's like an urban legend, I guess. That's the one part about leprechauns that's made up. It's the having gold. That's typical. Meanwhile, their son is hitting it off with the princess fairy.
And what are you staring at?
The fairest beauty that ever stood before the eyes of...
Everybody's having a grand old time at this party.
You look so lovely in the moonlight.
And then they go out on the balcony, and Leprechaun Man is like, I forget all of their names, I'm sorry.
Take off your mask.
He takes his mask off.
But you're a leprechaun.
And she's like, oh shit, you're a leprechaun. But she's still into him. They're cute. They're like a weird Romeo and Juliet. Although Romeo and Juliet was also kind of weird. You're gonna yell at a girl from a garden and then marry her and then die immediately? It's kind of weird, bro.
How do you know there are leprechauns here?
But the fairies are starting to suspect that there are leprechauns in their midst. So they're like, at the stroke of midnight or whatever, we're gonna all take our masks off. So the leprechauns try to make a very swift exit, which feels more suspicious, right?
Off with the masks, and all will be revealed.
Like, they don't have a choice, but like, if they're like, everybody take your masks off, and then a group of people are just like, dip, would that be kind of weird? They take their masks off, they can't get out in time, and this one fairy gives the leprechauns a stern look, and then they make an escape, and they're like, man, if only we could fly, that would be really helpful right now. And then Mickey, that's his name.
Mickey! I don't know how I'm doing it.
He's just flying, and why can he fly and the others can't?
But you're in love.
Really?
Well, that's the sign.
Is that it? That's how it works? You can only fly as a leprechaun if you're in love? Damn. That is convenient. Meanwhile, Jack's talking about turning this gorgeous town into like a golfing hotspot.
You're his father. Speak to him.
And Mickey's parents have found out that he's in love with the fairy princess, and they're very upset about it. The next day, there is a horse race on the beach, and they're not letting Kathleen race because sexism.
Because you're a little lady.
Super gross, and like all of her brothers are like actively trying to keep her out of this race. It's gross. I don't like it. Jack, trying to win her over, offers to drive her horse and buggy for her.
All right. You drive for me.
Which doesn't feel like a win because she should be able to drive for herself. But anyway, he's trying to help. And then with the help of the leprechauns, he wins. So she likes him now.
Show me around the countryside.
You married?
I love how she just does not trust him. So she shows him around Ireland, like around the village. And, you know, she's just perpetually a pleasant person. And Jack is just perpetually, deeply unlikable.
You see the shell? Isn't that just beautiful?
Yeah.
It's like, wow, it's like nature or something.
Are these things clean?
Yeah.
Jack! Shut up, Jack!
Yeah.
Those are really good. It's better than in the store.
It's not just me, right? He's incredibly annoying. I'm so sorry. The way this character is written is just incredibly, like... I think I'm supposed to think he's adorable, but he's not. I don't like him.
Listen to him, Mickey.
Oh, God. Right when I thought it couldn't get crazier. There's tree spirits, too. I'm not really gonna comment too much on the special effects and how they're not very good. This was a not very high-budgeted movie, and they were doing their best. And, you know, it gives it a certain charm. I'm not gonna be a jerk about it. I just know that someone's gonna bring it up in the comments, so yes, I'm very aware the CGI is not good. But that doesn't really matter. We're gonna move on. Well, those tree spirits are kind of terrifying. They do a kiss in the woods. Gross. And then Mickey goes back to visit Fairy Princess. I really should learn her name too. He floats up to her window.
I didn't know that leprechauns could fly.
No, we can't. Unless we're in love.
And then she finds out that he loves her.
I'll come back for you, my love.
Mickey!
And then the fairy guards find out and they're not happy.
Ooh-wee.
And then the tree spirit punches a fairy. That's a sentence I've never had to say before in my life. And then this guy, that's like the bad guy, he's apparently like the cousin of the princess, the girlfriend. So they have like a fight. They have like a big leprechaun v fairy brawl. And the music didn't really match in the first fight that they had, but it definitely doesn't match here. It's like this very like light flute music, and they're like trying to kick the shit out of each other. And then the friend leprechaun gets thrown to the ground, and then he starts disappearing.
Where's the rest of me?
It's like he's getting Thanos snapped, but not in the way that like the leprechauns disappear when they want to go invisible themselves. Like everybody knows it's cool if you Thanos snap yourself, but this is happening to him because the Grand Banshee, is that her name? Is that what she goes by? Is that her title? She's killing him basically because this is punishment for them fighting, which...
I warned you'd pay the ultimate price.
Yeah, she says she warned them, but also, like, she only warned the fairies and not the leprechaun, so I call foul. So he dies. He's gone. It's very sad.
Jessica, get packed.
Jessica, that is her name. Mickey, Jessica. That is the ship. Mick-Jessica? Mixica? What's their OTP name?
Fairies don't die.
They do sometimes.
I must see Mickey.
And I love that her lady's maid is like, oh, I have terrible news about your boyfriend. And she's like, oh no, did he die? And they're like, no, it's nothing like that. He just killed your cousin. And she's like, oh, well, that's fine. I don't like my cousin.
We're sending you away. Where?
And then her parents say that they're sending her to the underwater palace because leprechauns do not really handle water well.
I hate water!
To keep her safe because there is an impending war between the leprechauns and the fairies. Sometimes I say things on this channel and it kind of gives me an existential crisis when I really stop and process it. And so then the dad leprechaun tries to have a conversation with Jack about this impending war that's terrible and he doesn't know what the right thing to do in this situation is. And then Jack just starts talking about his love life and does not give a shit.
You know, the Grand Banshee has taken all the fun out of us. I was almost married once, you know.
Like, at least pretend to care, Jack. So Jessica's being taken away, and then who just swings into the carriage but Mickey?
Sorry, Lady Margaret, but I'd be obliged if you could keep as quiet as a mouse on a block.
Palace.
And her lady's maid is like, I'm not getting paid enough for this shit at all. Meanwhile, the leprechauns declare war.
Not exactly on a vacation.
And then we cut back to Jack's drama with like, oh, my girlfriend will hate me when she figures out I'm here to develop her land. As if that's the thing that I'm interested in right now. I want to know about Mickey and Jessica. That is all I care about right now. And then all the leaves start falling off the trees in summer because something, the fairies are supposed to keep nature going and now they're like warring with the leprechauns so they can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Maybe I'm being too hard on the fairies. Anyway. It's a byproduct of what's going on, so leaves are falling down in summer.
You best be getting some shelter.
Shelter from the leaves? They're just leaves.
Seamus Muldoon.
Who?
He'll know what's going on out there.
And then Jack decides to take Kathleen back to the cottage and just tell her about leprechauns randomly.
He's a leprechaun. Seamus, are you in here?
He's a leprechaun.
And right when you think she's just gonna leave him because he seems a little bit off his hinges...
Oh, there you are.
They show up, and they're like, no, man, we're real, and she passes out. It's kind of unfair that the girl that's lived her whole life in this town doesn't get to know about leprechauns, but Jack, who's been there for like a week and sucks, gets to. You know what I mean? So Jessica's in the underwater palace. Jack's trying to have a serious conversation with Kathleen, and her brothers keep interrupting, but basically...
Just come with me.
Jack's going back to New York to try to call off the development project because he's, like, seen the light. That happens with every guy in this movie. They show up to just try to, like, capitalize on a small town, and then they meet a girl, and they're like, oh, now I have empathy. But anyway, he's trying to call off this project, and he wants Kathleen to go back to New York with him. And it's weird, because, like, they've known each other for a week, you know?
It's all happening too fast.
And she's like, I can't do that. And then watch this. As he's leaving... because of all the stuff that's going on with the leprechauns and whatnot, the barn gets struck by lightning and collapses. And he looks over his shoulder like, huh, that sucks for them, and just keeps walking. He doesn't, like, go to check to make sure that, like, nobody got hurt. He doesn't try to, like, help. He doesn't do anything. Jack sucks. Kathleen can do so much better. And then the leprechauns show up to battle, and then they hear this rustling, and then the fairies show up in like a swarm, like that one really lame episode of Supernatural where like the bugs were coming to get them. You remember that episode? So Jack's standing alone at the train station like, I wish my girlfriend would show up.
Hello there, Mr. Woods. I thought you might need a hand with your luggage.
And then this guy shows up and gets his hopes up, which is kind of funny. And the battle is about to begin. It's very tense. And then Jack steps on the train very reluctantly. And that's the end of the first movie. We're left on a cliffhanger. And now we have to watch the second movie, which is what I'm going to do in the next video. But oh my god, this is such a wild ride. I love this movie. I hope sincerely that I love the second one as much as the first one. So that's Magical Legend of the Leprechauns Night 1. The first and second one are on Tubi for free. I think they're also in a couple of other places for free. So if you want to watch this for yourself, feel free to do that. But I will, you know, once you're seeing this, I'm probably already working on getting the second one out, so that will be out soon. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing. Everything you do to support this channel means the world to me. If you're new here and you're a fan of nonsense, maybe consider sticking around because I post nonsense all the time. And remember, my name is Avery. I'm a YouTuber if you say so, because thanks to you guys, this is technically a YouTube channel. Bye! Happy not St. Patrick's Day anymore.